What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Assemblage 23, and we're returning to his 2001 album Failure. Thank you as always to Kim. And the next track is Tried, which is to say it's not going to be Yoda's favorite track, but yes, to try is to make an attempt, and I would argue, and I've said this in a number of reactions where I bring up the Yoda, there is no try, only do or do not aphorism. Trying is a necessary precondition of intentional deliberate action. I suppose you can fall down the stairs without trying to, but if you seek to climb up the stairs, you must first attempt to do so, and perhaps some injury will befall you or something else might take place which would prevent you from completing the ascent up the stairs, but you would have in fact tried. So there would be trying even though there was also not doing. Enough of this. But the point is, yes, trying is the act of attempting or seeking some outcome, but before the completion or the manifestation of the outcome in question. So it speaks to psychological intent and perhaps behavioral intent, but with a suggestion, and in this case it's not indicated that someone fails. You can try and then indeed complete that action and be successful in your try or attempt. But oftentimes when people say that a person tried to do something, there's an underlying connotation or implication that they were in fact unsuccessful, because maybe if you're referring to it in past tense, you would say they did the thing instead of just trying the thing. So before we get more turned around in semantics and philosophy, let's listen to the track. This is Assemblage 23 from the album Failure 2001, and the track is called Tried. It does sound like epic sci-fi tragedy. Stop fully. That's an awesome track. So, number one, it sounds a bit less rave underground style, a bit more like a darker Depeche Mode tune meets maybe a Nine Inch Nails tune, which maybe I'm saying that because I always react to Depeche Mode, and I recently reacted to a Nine Inch Nails song. Once again, thank you to Kim. But yeah, it has a bit of that dark industrial sound mixed with a dark synth type of track atmosphere to it. And then vocally, his delivery is very like haunting. It's very heavy. I do feel the darkness. It doesn't feel straight away like pain though. It's not like weighed down and like a sad type of delivery. It's almost like he's been deadened, which again, I think the line in the first verse was like he tried to stop his eyes from going pale, but he couldn't do that. So it sounds like he is dead inside at this point. But it's interesting because my understanding of exactly what the dynamic was evolved as the track went along. So first he's describing himself, and he's saying that, he couldn't stop this process by which he became more dead and the life of everything left him. And then he's talking about the other person and saying that, they probably are the same, and it sounds like the vitality and the warmth that they had evaporated. But then he's also talking about the relationship or the dynamic itself and saying that, what was it, was it murky shore or was it a rocky shore, but the tide recedes, and just like that he's pulling back, like what was it, receding or like stepping back no matter how much they implore. So it seems like at some point he realized that this relationship, this terrain has been deadened and is dark and without life, even as the other person was still trying to get him involved. And what was the line that, at the best, this was very tumultuous, up and down, like a roller coaster, and at worst, this has all been meaningless. Like, there was really no point for this, and, it's a waste of time, and it's, sort of killed us both and killed the world around. So it's, they tried, he tried, maybe the other person tried, but in the end, they did fail. Now, it's on an album called Failure, so I suppose not only in my intro was I talking about the word tried itself often, not always, but often has a connotation of not completing whatever the attempt was. But I suppose on an album called Failure, that was a given, or it was inevitable. But yes, so I like the vocal delivery fitting the deadened themes that I'm picking up on. Again, it sounds like he's saying like he died because of this. He's blaming the other person, I think, but it does also seem like he's saying they have now had, all the good things disappear and are as dead as he is, and certainly the relationship, the environment itself is, you know, all, what is it, like all the good things have gone away or disappeared, I believe. So yeah, it's like there's nothing bright and positive here, and I think his vocal delivery conveys that. And the Sonics, again, like a bit less, you know, driving and, you know, four to the floor energetic, and more heavy and, you know, plodding and syncopated, which again seems to fit the lyrical terrain as I picked it up on a first listen. So a really cool tune, and one that I enjoyed analyzing from multiple angles as it was playing out. I will say though, the post-chorus section, which had that like high kind of organ line, as well as like, I don't know if it was a vocoder, but the really like synthesized type vocals, which I couldn't quite make out what was being said in those sections, that felt like a bit brighter, a bit more hopeful maybe, but it was like the rest of the song killed that. So maybe that could represent, you know, the attempt, the try, which on some level would have been engaged in with sincerity or a genuine desire to make something work, but everything around it was heavy and dark and brutal. So it feels like there is a nice contrast there, though I don't quite know if I'm reading that post-chorus interlude section, which again did have some vocals, but sort of mechanized, and I couldn't quite tell what they were saying. But either way, I enjoyed that section of the track, and the tune overall is, I think, another example of Tom's artistry, which is something that, you know, no matter the sonic character of a tune in terms of, you know, is it more dance floor, is it more like dark and ambient or so on, he does really put a lot of creative thought into these tracks, at least as they're hitting my brain. So in any case, let me know what you think. I will see you next time. Peace.